Venerable Children wrote a book, How to Free Your Mind. It's about Tara the Liberator. In it, she discusses the 8 dangers. Now, these dangers are from our mind. They're not from the outside, they're from the inside. The first one is called the Lion of Pride. So I went and looked at what everybody else decided pride was. Pride is a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements, the achievements of those with whom one is closely associated, or from qualities or possessions that are widely admired. Pride is an inwardly directed emotion that carries 2 antithetical meanings. With a negative connotation, pride refers to foolishly and irrationally corrupt sense of one's personal value, status, or accomplishments, and it's used synonymously with hubris, and we'll get to what hubris is in a minute. With a positive connotation, pride refers to a humble and content sense of attachment towards one's own or another's choice or actions, or towards a whole group of people, and is a product of praise, independent self-reflection, and a fulfilled feeling of belonging. Pride is sometimes viewed as corrupt or as a vice, and sometimes as a proper or as a virtue. When it's viewed as a virtue, pride in one's abilities is known as virtuous pride. When viewed as a virtue, pride in one, is virtuous pride, greatness of soul or magnanimity. But when it's viewed as a vice, it's often known to be self-idolatry, sadistic contempt, vanity, or vainglory. Pride can also manifest itself as a high opinion of one's nation, which is a national pride, or ethnicity, which is ethnic pride. But what distinguishes between people who feel confident and prideful from those who are boastful and arrogant? That's what I want to go into. Hubris, which I decide. That's excessive pride or self-confidence. That's the strutting and arrogant people you see around. Psychologists distinguish between the 2 kinds of pride. Authentic pride arises when we feel good about ourselves, confident and productive, and is related to socially desirable personality traits, such as being agreeable, conscientious, and emotionally stable. Hubristic pride tends to involve egoism and arrogance, is related to socially undesirable traits, such as being disagreeable, aggressive, having low or brittle self-esteem, and being prone to shame. Hubris, which is exaggerated self-esteem, is sometimes actually a lie that we use to cover a lack of self-esteem. The committer of pride feels deep down. A hubristic pride tends to motivate people towards antisocial behaviors focused on attaining dominance, such as arrogance, aggression, and hostility. Groups that we see in the news that boast, gloat, and denigrate others tend to become groups with low social status and to be vulnerable to threats from other groups. It's suggested that hubristic, pompous displays of group pride might actually be a sign of that group insecurity, as opposed to being a sign of strength. Those that express pride by being filled with humility while focusing on members' efforts and hard work, these people tend to achieve high social standings in both the adult, public, and personal eyes. So those people would be humble as opposed to being hubristic. Humble people are not proud or arrogant. They are courteously respectful. They have or show modest importance of their own importance instead of being conflating themselves or denigrating themselves. They're kind of in the middle, which is where we usually want to be. So pride can have positive benefits also. It can enhance creativity, it can enhance productivity and altruism. Pride is generally associated, the good kind of pride is associated with positive social behaviors such as helping others and outward promotion. Along with hope, it is often described as an emotion that facilitates performance attainments. In psychological terms, positive pride is a pleasant, sometimes exhilarating, authentic pride tends to motivate us to display pro-social behaviors such as hard work, persistence towards our common goals, and generosity. The good news is that we can usually tell the difference between somebody who's conflated with arrogance and someone who's not. But in my opinion, everybody has their own type of pride. You know, they have their own understanding of it, what it is. Okay. Pride, and what it seems to come down to is that it requires a development of the sense of self. And that's where we normally get into trouble. Why is it called the lion of pride? Lions were traditionally seen as regal and elevated, so their group was called a pride of lions, lion of pride. It's a play on words. When we come to Tara, then we start asking, and this is what, there's a little phrase that goes with it. Dwelling in the mountains of wrong views of selfhood, puffed up with holding itself superior, it claws other beings with contempt. The lion of pride, please protect us from this danger. So as spiritual practitioners, one of the greatest dangers we face is pride. Someone arrogantly thought that they had reached a level of attainment that in fact they had not, and then engaged in unethical actions. In other situations, a person considers themselves to be a competent teacher for subjects that they do not know well, and by instructing others, they pass on their misconceptions to students. This is the lion of pride. This is what we're trying to avoid. Just as a lion struts in mountain forests, our pride dwells in the environment of wrong views about the nature of I or self. Whereas the I is dependent, we grasp at it as existing independently from all other factors. This is a wrong view. This wrong view is the root of our suffering in cyclic existence, which is why we try to avoid it. Holding an unrealistic view of how we exist, we then compare ourselves with others. We become puffed up and proud over those we deem inferior, jealous of those we consider superior, and competitive of equals. Our pride begets contempt that is like the lion's claws, with which we injure other living beings, and in doing so, injure ourselves. Meanwhile, pride itself prevents us from recognizing our horrible predicament in cyclic existence because we arrogantly think we are flawless. Thus, we fail to practice Dharma and consequently develop no good qualities while the ones we have deteriorate. So what are the antidotes to pride? Wisdom realizing emptiness is the antidote to everything. Thinking about a subject that is difficult. Remembering that all our talents came about because others taught us how to develop them. Bowing to the 3 jewels, doing prostrations. Okay. The Tibetans tell a story about an intelligent rabbit who got the better of an arrogant lion. On the full moon, the rabbit visited the lion and told him of a creature who was much more magnificent than he. Thinking this could not be the case, the lion immediately wanted to confront this creature. The rabbit brought the lion to a well and told him to look down. Upon seeing his own reflection, the lion began to show off his magnificence and strength. The being in the well did the same. Then the lion growled angrily, and the being in the well returned the threat. Determined to get the better of this creature, the lion pounced on his own reflection. Needless to say, he drowned in the well. So try to avoid the lion of pride, which comes from inside. That's all I have to say.